Welcome back. I'm joined from London by Queen Noor of Jordan as we approach the 10th anniversary of King Hussein's passing. Now we've got a caller on the line, Antinia in Italy. Thanks for your patience. What's your question or comment, please?
Good evening, Mr. Khan. Good
Hi.
evening, Your Majesty. Thank you so much for taking my call. My name is Antonia, and I'm ringing from Florence in Italy. How can we ordinary people help in Palestine and with the peace between Palestine and Israel?
Well, today, certainly, probably the greatest need is the humanitarian needs of the people of Gaza. And there are now, trucks have resumed providing very basic supplies into Gaza, much less than is needed just for the minimal needs of the people there. So we need to provide as much humanitarian support as possible. And of course, on the level of trying to influence the peace process, the people on the ground, the grassroots in all of these communities need as much support. The moderate people who are reaching out to one another across conflict lines need as much support as possible to continue that process during a period of such severe conflict when it becomes increasingly hard to reach out to one another. So I would say for people who are listening, who want to engage and contribute in some way, humanitarian support is absolutely vital right now, and trying to support those who are reaching across conflict lines.
Right. We had on our Facebook page, we had a question posted by a viewer called Majid Siddiqui in Pakistan, who wrote in saying, recently President Gaddafi of Libya wrote in the New York Times that Jews and Muslims cannot survive without each other, citing labor and economic issues. He has suggested both communities create one country, Israelis. Do you think a one-state solution is viable for Muslims and Jews? And I should point out, actually, this is a topic that's being discussed fairly intensively in our live station chat room. People are asking, do you believe that there could be a one-state solution?
Yeah, I saw that article, and it's true that there is, from a variety of different angles, a lot of discussion about that. I know it's rejected out of hand by the parties themselves, and the international consensus has been that a two-state solution is required. When you talk about Jews and Muslims and Christians, we are all children of Abraham. We are, in Islam, we are all people of the book. We are a family of the book, of the Torah, the Bible, and the Quran. We are one community that bear an enormous responsibility and to develop the common ground that exists in all three faiths, which are founded upon the same prophets, the same teachings, and the same fundamental spiritual values. And there really is the most valuable material for making peace.
There was an interesting article recently. I know you're a strong advocate for Islam and also for a better understanding of Islam, and especially for Muslim women. And there was an interesting article in the press just now about an Iraqi woman who allegedly recruited female suicide bombers they were victims of rape and abuse, and she'd started to recruit, up to about 80 potential suicide bombers by saying, persuading that they should do this in the name of religion. Now, of course, as someone who is trying to do so much to change the Western views and misperceptions about Islam, these kind of stories must be very hard to counter. It must be very hard to explain this.
I don't know a great deal about that particular story. I do know from speaking to a Palestinian working with young people a few years ago, working with young people in Gaza, he told me an astounding figure, which was a significant percentage of young Gazan boys who felt that when they reached maturity, the age of around 18, that the most meaningful expression that they could give to their lives was to become a suicide bomber, because they saw no other horizon out there. They saw no economic opportunity. They saw no social opportunity. They saw their friends, their families being killed, being humiliated. They felt themselves so humiliated and so without hope that they were willing to conceive of such a nihilistic choice. It's against Islam, mind you. The killing of innocent civilians, of non-combatants, is contrary to Islam. So, and suicide is contrary to Islam. So this is not a religious act. It is an act of utter absolute desperation. And it reveals to us, I think, where we must be looking to resolve this problem, which is not with armies and bombs and land seizures and blockades and walls. It is by addressing the hopes and aspirations and fundamental needs of people on both sides for security and for hope for a future that offers some possibility.
You know, Queen Noor, during the attacks on Gaza, there were a lot of people who were commenting that the Middle East seemed very quiet in condemning what was going on, that there wasn't a strong enough response from Arab leaders. And a question from our live station chat room where this is being discussed says, do you think there is any real leader with the kind of courage and conviction that is needed to basically handle this in the Middle East?
Well, I come back to the Arab Peace Initiative because it was a collective offer, and all the Arab states joined together in that initiative, and to guarantee security and peace to Israel if there was a return to the 1967 borders. And obviously there might be minor adjustments here and there to the various aspects of that initiative. But I think there you have the Arab world together, coming together, and I think that's going to be very important for the future. I would also add, because you mentioned nuclear weapons before and the Global Zero movement, and this is a bit of a digression, but that the Arab countries as well have signed on to the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty and have been trying to bring Israel into that treaty through the UN and other arms initiatives to try to bring Israel, and so the Middle East can become a weapons of mass destruction free zone. That is, I think, a very important initiative, and again, needs to be a collective process.
Now we have about a minute and a half left, and I wonder if you could give us your perspective on this. You know, you're a person who ideally bridges East and West, an Arab American who knows how both sides of the equation think. Why is it the West, certainly the West and certainly America, doesn't get a true picture of what's going on when it comes to the situation faced by people on the ground, particularly the Palestinians with, for example, the situation in Gaza, the situation in the West Bank being fragmented, as you described as well. About a minute to go, Your Majesty, what would you think?
Well, they're not watching Al Jazeera International. And media is certainly an enormous problem in the United States. I think it's a problem for the policymakers as much as it is for the people at large. They are not seeing what is taking place on the ground. In terms of what just happened in Gaza, as you know, there was a media blackout by Israel. The international media were prevented from getting in and actually seeing what was taking place as it was taking place. And that certainly had an impact on an understanding of what was taking place. There's a political dynamic in the United States as well that has not allowed for a accurate and balanced presentation of the of the conditions of Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza, their suffering and their struggle for peace and for security.
I'm so sorry to have to end it there. We have so many more questions, but we hope to get you back. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Riz, very much. Have a good night.
Thank you. Tomorrow, be sure to join us for a conversation with billionaire and former presidential candidate Steve Forbes, who argues the global economy's got a long way to go before recovering. That's it from me and the team. We'll see you next time.